Today we're going to talk about how you can set up HR for your small business really easily today. Hey guys, welcome to HR Kangaroo. Here we're going to be sharing tips and information to handle HR in your small business on your own. The first thing you want to talk about when you're setting up HR is really compliance. That's always the basic thing to cover. And we're going to talk about some of the key areas that will probably cover the biggest risks and things to make sure that you're on track. A few things you want to do when you're taking care of compliance for HR in your company. First, you want to make sure that you're registered as an employer in the state that you have employees. This will make sure that you are collecting applicable taxes for the employees that are working for you in each location that they're working. Second, wage and hour law is the biggest risk when it comes to lawsuits that are really expensive. So here you want to make sure that you're doing a few things. Hourly employees is probably the biggest area that you want to make sure that you're meeting requirements. So making sure that you are meeting minimum wage requirements for wherever your employees are employed. Properly tracking their time is really key, and ensure that they're being paid overtime properly and they're getting meal and rest breaks as mandated by the state that they're working in is really essential. The next few are really easy to make sure that you've got covered. Have a workers' compensation plan for all of your employees. Collect an I-9 and W-4 for all employees that work at your company, and this does not include independent contractors. And finally, order some state and federal law posters that share the law and rights for employees. You can order these online really easily. Even Costco has them, but there's a lot of companies that have them, and they'll take on the liability when it comes to making sure that you're providing the information that's needed. And there's also a lot of companies that do it for online employees as well. So for remote employees, really easy. You can send it out for multiple employees in different places. The second thing you want to do when you're setting up HR for your company is you want to have a list of policies. Now, most often this comes with starting with an employee handbook. It's the easiest place to start. There's a lot of generated, templated employee handbooks. I would start with an employee handbook that is in the state that you are employing your employees. If you have people across the country or across the globe, start with a template that's in the state that you are registered as an employer. So this would generally be your headquarters or your main office. Most of these templated handbooks are really great in making sure that you've got all the laws covered and a lot of policies for most companies to generally protect you. There's a few areas that you want to make sure that you're paying attention to, that every company is different, and it's really up to you, and it really comes down to the benefits for your employees. So this means paid time off, sick time policies, paid holidays, retirement, medical benefits, and your leave of absence policies. Once you've got your employee handbook covered, one area that you want to pay attention to is also how you're classifying employees. And it kind of goes back to the wage and hour law risks. So make sure that you're classifying employees properly. So this means designating non-exempt versus exempt employees as they should be, interns that are actually interns and how you're actually using them, and independent contractors versus W-2 employees. Fourth, develop a performance management program. It doesn't have to be particularly complicated at this point, just making sure that you're talking to your employees at least every quarter. All employees really value consistent feedback. They want to hear how they're doing, they want to hear what they're doing wrong, how they can get better, what they're working towards. Those things are always really important in communicating with your employees. And documenting those things are really important so that if you have any issues down the road, you're keeping track of how they're doing. And if you have a lawsuit 2-3 years later, you actually have records of how they've been doing, any kind of feedback that you were getting. So these are a really important part of risk mitigation, as well as retaining your employees by giving them the kind of feedback and information that they need to move forward in their careers. Employees that are receiving consistent feedback are more likely to stay at the company that they're with. Finally, the last piece of setting up HR for your company is having a really strong onboarding program. What an onboarding program really does is making sure that new employees that come into your company are really set up for success. So one of the first things you want to do is set up an orientation presentation. This is something by making sure that every employee that comes into your company has the same experience. You're covering your policies, you're talking about the benefits, you want to talk a little bit about your business and how they fit into your organization. Part of an onboarding process is setting up an employee with a buddy in your company. So a buddy is somebody who's been at the company for a while, who is a really good example who you want this new hire to reflect, and it's somebody who's not their boss. Now, this is key because having a buddy is someone that you can go to for questions and help you integrate into the company. And what happens is a lot of times employees will not feel comfortable asking their boss these questions over and over. So having a buddy creates an opportunity for them to get their questions answered without feeling like they're going to seem incompetent. Also, part of onboarding is making sure that anybody who's going to be managing this new hire has set up a plan of how to train them. So thinking about what they want them to be learning in the first couple of weeks. What should they be doing during the downtime? Where can they find information? So having a training program of what it looks like when they're first getting started is really key. And finally, since we've talked about training, is having a place to put all of your information. So having your training set up, so how things are getting done, where they can find that information, what your products and services are. Having a standard operating procedures manual is really helpful to make sure that you've got all this information and everybody coming into your company is generally having the same kind of access to that information. Also, when somebody leaves your company, that information isn't lost. In future videos, we're going to be talking more about every one of these topics. Hope you found this is really helpful and you can set up HR for your small business. We're here at hrkangaroo.com and we've got everything you need to set up HR, retain all the files that we talked about. We've got everything as far as performance reviews and templates and anything that you need to get started. So join us on our channel, click the like button and the subscribe button, and you're going to hear more information of how to run your HR department on your own or within your company.